Will conspiracy theories be the ultimate undoing of Donald Trump and his administration? It sort of looks that way, as Jan Sixers join together with other QAnon and MAGA conspirator theory people, that is the bedrock of the MAGA movement, which Donald Trump used to get elected. They are now attacking the triumvirate of Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, a former podcaster, now number 2 in the FBI, used to be in the Secret Service at a low-level position, and Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, because they're not delivering on the promise to go after the killers of Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, you heard me right. They still believe he was murdered, despite the fact that Dan Bongino looked him in the eye just in the last week or two and said, "I've seen the files. The guy hanged himself." They don't like that. They don't like the other conspiracies that aren't being proven by the Trump administration. The pipe bombs that were planted as a false flag during Jan 6th at the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee. That was an insider job, wasn't it? Well, no, says Patel and Bongino. And what about the federal agents that started the Jan 6th attacks? Isn't that being investigated? Well, not really, says Bongino and Patel. And so, they're raising up pitchforks to go after them. And what is the Trump administration doing in response? They're starting up other investigations in order to feed the beast. When we hear about a new Biden investigation, we hear about a new, let's investigate about the cocaine that came to the White House. All you need to do to translate that is they are losing the war against their own party and their own base on conspiracy theories. So they need to generate more of them in order to feed that beast. I'm not feeding the beast. I'm here with friends on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button, and let's move this forward. So, I'm not sure how much longer Dan Bongino is going. I think he's going to return to being a fellow podcaster soon, because every time he goes on television for the Trump administration, he looks so beleaguered. He looks so downtrodden. He says things like, "Well, I gave up my life for this. Now I'm just staring at 4 walls in D.C." That's how he describes his job as number 2 at the FBI. I'm just staring at 4 walls. What happened to law enforcement? What happened to investigation? What about stopping the next terrorist attack, Dan? No, because he has to chase his tail, and he has to chase all these QAnon theories in order to satisfy Donald Trump's Republican base. It's all politics. It has nothing to do with keeping you and me safe. And so what's the latest? Well, he got into hot water, Mr. Bongino did. I never liked him as a podcaster, by the way. But Mr. Bongino got into hot water when he looked them in the eye, the followers of Donald Trump, the crazies, the MAGA, and said, "I've seen the files. There's Jeffrey Epstein hanged himself. There was no murder." No, don't say that. For some reason, it's an article of faith among the MAGA that Jeffrey Epstein, of all things, a pedophile, they love going after pedophiles, or people they suspect to be pedophiles, was murdered. Then, of course, they have to reconcile why their president and fearless leader and Jesus Christ Almighty in the flesh, Donald Trump, why he seems to be protecting Jeffrey Epstein and not releasing the files. So when Pam Bondi, they attacked Bongino. No, don't say that. That's not true. Oh, we hate Dan Bongino. Oh, okay, we used to love him. And then you have Pam Bondi, to distract from whatever was going on in some abuse of power by Donald Trump or failed economic policy, announcing a couple of months ago, "We've released the Epstein files." And they brought a bunch of the crazies in to carry around, folders they made at Kinko's or FedEx office that had big Epstein files on. "Oh, I got my Epstein files." And it turned out it was a complete dud. There was nothing inside. So bad that Elon Musk has said, "Release them all." You know why they're not being released? Because Donald Trump's all over them, which only feeds the beast. Now they got to go, "Oh my God, what do we do? We're so confused. Donald Trump, our fearless leader, our cult leader, is in the Epstein files." So Bongino is trying to dig himself out from under that, right? And Bondi's trying to dig herself out from under, why were there nothing in the Epstein files? And Kash Patel is in the middle going, why would I risk my entire, he literally went on a podcast in the last few days and said, why would I risk my entire career for that guy, Jeffrey Epstein? I wouldn't. And I'm not withholding anything, but this is not satisfying the hue and cry that's gone up within MAGA. And it will eat them. It will cannibalize them. I assure you, it will destabilize them. Look at all these destabilizing things in MAGA that have happened just in the last 2 weeks. Donald Trump decides to go after Leonard Leo and the Federalist Society, and not just Leonard Leo and the Federalist Society, which supported Donald Trump since 2016, if not before, but all of the shadowy organizations that Leonard Leo funds, including ones related to Ginny Thomas. There's dozens of them. And they control billions and billions of dollars. Billions of dollars, which, if they sit out the midterms, is not going to help Donald Trump and his legacy. It will help restore power in America, in a balance of power, with Democrats and taking over the House and the Senate. So that was scandal one, right? So we have that going on. Then the other destabilizer is Donald Trump making MAGA choose sides between Musk and him. And Musk has got the long view, right? He's in the, right? Their time horizons don't match. Literally, age and money don't match. And so Musk is in this to win. And the more you attack Elon Musk, I have to give him one bit of credit, the more he fights back. His ego won't allow him to, and his other mental issues won't allow him not to do it. It's like dealing with Kanye West. It's like if Kanye West was in the government and now left the government, we would be seeing, I defy anybody, put it in comments. If Kanye West had been the Elon Musk in Doge and left, how would what's going on right now be any different? But these are destabilizers. And now we've got this other one that's running. Jan Sixers, who were all pardoned by Donald Trump, do not like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. They didn't like that Kash Patel put somebody in charge of the FBI field office in D.C. who was responsible for investigating all the Jan Sixers. He got the job because he knows what he's doing. But to the Jan Sixers, no, you put the wrong person in. And so we have this announcement, which is now, I'm putting it in context. How did we get this announcement that they're suddenly going after Joe Biden and determine who used the auto pen? You could say a lot of things about Joe Biden, and he might have had to take more naps than we knew about. But when he was up and running, and he was meeting people and greeting people, and he was reading things and signing things, he was fine. He was fine. Was he with it all the time? No, neither was Ronald Reagan, by the way. I don't hear anybody trying to recast the relationship between Reagan and the Republican Party. The great unifier. I don't see anybody attacking him, considering that Nancy Reagan ran the entire presidency with the help of an astrologer. Look it up, for most of that administration's second term, because he was suffering from Alzheimer's. All right, so let's leave it at that. We all have somebody who's aging in the White House that we have to cut some slack for, as far as I can see. But that's not good enough. So you hear these announcements. Now you understand from this hot take why they're announcing, we're going after Joe Biden and everybody around him on a conspiracy theory. I'm like, really? That's what we're doing? That's the right use of time, money, and political capital? If you don't like that, how about this one? We're going after to figure out who dropped the cocaine when they came through the White House. Look, I've been through the White House. I got a tour when Biden was in office. And, I don't know if people have been there, but it's very underwhelming. The security's high. The security's high. You wait in a line. You wait in a line with a bunch of people. You go through a number of metal detectors. It's sort of like being at the airport. But if you had a little bag of Coke, not that I did, but if you had a little bag of Coke and it's sort of and you're like, oh crap, I'm going through a metal detector, and you kind of tossed it, I'm not sure they'd be able to figure out who did it. But for them, it must be Hunter Biden. Or maybe they were trying to give Joe Biden a bump every once in a while. Like Donald Trump said, he must have been on something when he did the second debate with me, because he was more with it than I thought. So, but this is the reason they're announcing these new investigations, right? We need to get to the bottom of how the Dobbs decision in 2023 in draft written by Alito to take away a woman's right to choose was leaked to the media. Really? I thought we did that already. The investigation took place by that branch and they couldn't figure out who did it. It was done, but they can't. It's probably because Alito did it. We always said that. But this whole, issue that's going on is really just an example of Bongino and Patel and Bondi trying to stay in the good graces of the crazy MAGA supporters of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump saying, you take the political heat. You announce these new investigations. Because Donald Trump knows Jeffrey Epstein wasn't murdered. Yeah. Well, when you create a monster, when you create a golem, this is what happens. And you can't, this is a monster of their own creation. It's a good thing. It's a destabilizing thing. It breaks up and breaks apart MAGA because they were never monolithic. You can trace MAGA back, first level back to the Tea Party movement. You can keep going back to Karl Rove as a political operative for the Republicans. You can go back and hit Lee Atwater. And then you can go back and hit the dirty tricks of Richard Nixon. This is the party. The party has been corrupt since before Richard Nixon. Nixon to Atwater, Atwater to Rove, Rove to Tea Party movement to MAGA. That's the evolution. And Donald Trump has ridden that to electoral victory twice. But they're not held together properly. That's why you see the battles. That's why Congress is so feckless. That's why, they passed the big, beautiful bill, but it's never going to pass the Senate. Congress is useless in the hands of the Democrats and MAGA because there's all these subgroups. Rand Paul attacking the budget because he's a libertarian. Conservative Republicans that aren't MAGA not agreeing to fiscal irresponsibility by Donald Trump and breaking away. That's why I've said Hakeem Jeffries for the Democrats is basically the co-speaker of the House. I had a podcast partner ask me recently, why do you think he keeps doing it? Trump rules by executive order. Why 150 executive orders? Why not just get bills passed in Congress? He can't. He can, with a stroke of a pen, overnight, he can generate 150 executive orders and then fight it out in the courts. You know how many bills would get passed in Congress in this same 140 days? I don't know, 2, 3? He would never be able to accomplish his agenda except through executive orders and the Supreme Court allowing him. So we have to undercut and tear away at the base and leave it to them. Power mad and power hungry. The pendulum is overswung. And now we're seeing what's going on internally with this tearing apart of the soul of the Republican Party led by Donald Trump. I'll continue to follow it right here. You're on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us continue to grow this pro-democracy channel. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.